Hello everyone, and thank you for joining our think tank today. I'm Brad Rabel, Chief Information Officer for Stewart Title, and I'm here to facilitate our discussion on eClosing. Joining me today are Tara Smith, EVP of Stewart Agency Services, Marvin Stone, Senior Vice President Business Integration, and Dawn Llewellyn, Senior Compliance Counsel and Senior Underwriter. Today we will be discussing eClosing, what it is, how it affects the real estate services industry, and what we are doing at Stewart to digitize our customer experience. So let's start off with the basics. Marvin, this concept of eClosing, it has a lot of buzz around it. Can you help just define what it means?
Yeah, sure, Brad. So eClosing has been bannered around, really. That term came out in the mid-2000s, around 2005, when everything first got started. Stewart was a pioneer then and developed some really solid eClosing technology, but it was probably early for its time. So, that didn't really take off then the way we thought it would. The lenders weren't ready to buy into it. The technology and bandwidth weren't there. People didn't have tablets, that sort of thing. So we saw really with the downturn of 2008 or so, we didn't see that really take off until really last year when eClosing or electronic closing really took off. All of a sudden, everybody kind of got the idea that it was time to save money on closing loans electronically. And there are a number of ways that lenders can save and title agents can save, so we saw it really take off.
Interesting. So with all new takeoffs, there seems to be a lot of confusion around different types and the ways you do it. Dawn, can you help explain the different types of eClosing experiences?
Sure, Brad. So the first type is the hybrid eClosing, and that's where all the parties are in the same room with the notary, and part of the documents are signed electronically on a tablet or a desktop computer, and then some of the documents like the note, the security instrument, and the deed are still wet signed like they are today. The full eClosing is where everybody's in the same room with the notary and everything is fully signed electronically, either on a tablet or a desktop computer. And again, everything is signed, the note, the security instrument, the deed, electronically. And the notary embeds their seal electronically into the document. The notary is an e-notary in that case. The third type, which is rapidly gaining ground, is online remote notarization. That's where the parties are in different locations, and all of the documents are signed via an online webcam, audio-visual, two-way communication. So you can see the notary, you can see the signer, you can see the document, but everything's done online and in separate locations.
And so with all new nuances in this business, the favorite question is this legal in my state? How do we answer that?
So that's a great question. In all 50 states, an electronic signature is valid and enforceable as long as the consumers consent to the transaction. So there has to be some kind of affirmative consent to do an electronic transaction. And then electronic signatures are valid in all 50 states. Under most state laws, electronic notarization is also legal. Some states, about 28 states, have electronic notary regulations in place where the notary has to actually do a few extra steps to become an electronic notary. And online right now, we're insuring in 9 states, but there are now 28 states looking at laws to allow for online notarization. So it's an area of the law that's rapidly changing.
Interesting. And Tara, I think somebody who's closest to the consumer, who gets benefit from eClosing?
So really the short answer is everyone benefits. Lenders have really done the analysis to look at their costs and ways that they can reduce their costs. And depending on the size of the loan, we're hearing from lenders that they're saving anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 per loan by going completely electronic. The agents benefit from reducing any post-closing errors because there's no documents that get missed as you're going through and signing electronically. So there's no missing of signatures. The time for authorization to funding is reduced significantly. But also, if you think about the consumer and really their experience in going through this transaction, the ease at which they can sign documents, every other part of their life can be done electronically. And then when you go to buy a home and go to a closing and sit down at a table with a stack of papers, it seems pretty archaic when you look at what else we can do electronically in our lives. So the consumer benefits significantly by really simplifying and making the transaction much more seamless.
Great. Dawn, I know the underwriters have been working hard on this. What's an underwriter focus on in an e-closing experience?
So, Brad, our underwriters have been working on this for over a year. We can tell you what states you can do what type of e-closing in. We have a bulletin out on electronic signature and electronic notary. And for online, we've developed a secret sauce that's sort of our online notary requirements. So our underwriters have been working really hard on ensuring, that we have the guidelines and the underwriting requirements there to mitigate any risks around this. I would just add that we've also, we've been engaging in pilots across the country in this area, and also we've been training our independent agents so that they're ready not only for the legal requirements, but also the hardware requirements and the other requirements around this kind of a closing.
Yeah, and as Dawn said, we've had a team really focused on this exclusively for over a year and working on what the requirements are from a legal and underwriting perspective, and then also just from a technology perspective, what's required for an agent to handle transactions like this. So what type of technology does the agent need in their office, and which partners should they pair with as they look to do these electronic transactions. And we've done all of that research up front and have made that available for our agents. We have a toolkit called our eClose in a Box, which is available to our agents that really walks them through everything they need from start to finish. When I talk about the vendors that are available to work with, we've done the vetting already for those vendors. It doesn't mean that our agents have to use the vendors that Stewart has selected to work with, but we have questions out there that as our agents start to evaluate their vendors, what they should be looking at from a security perspective, making sure that the vendors have the appropriate security in place, and then also hardware. We've evaluated which hardware works best for these transactions, both from a, it ranges all the way from depending on what type of transaction you're doing, but what type of hardware the agents need. And we're making all of that available to our agents. And as Dawn says, we're making training available on a regular basis, and all of our agency staff has been trained as well to be able to make sure that they're ready to help our agents through this process.
In true Stewart fashion, we care about the customer experience.
We do, for sure.
Another big channel is the lender channel, and I know it's a different transaction type and it's a different process. Marvin, how are we getting e-closing ready for our lenders?
Well, I think our e-team has really been focused on working with a number of different providers. There are different types of e-closing providers, and each lender has started to pick their own. I think back in 2005, 6, and around that range, you had a lot of title agents leading this, but today lenders are leading it. So our underwriting team has been looking at these platforms, as Tara said, and your technology team has really been going through and vetting these platforms, really making sure that they're all safe and secure, and that they're protecting private information and so forth. So really that's the key, is we've gone through and we've vetted these. We have approved vendors. One thing I would like to add is you will hear some people say, well, I don't know about these webcam closings, or I don't know about these Skype closings. These platforms are much more online than just FaceTime or Skype. So it's really important to go look at our underwriting guidelines, talk to our underwriters, talk to agency services, make sure that everybody understands really which platforms are approved by our technology group.
So Tara, what do the agents need to get started?
So as I mentioned, we have what we're calling our eClose in a Box. We've worked with our team to prepare really everything the agents need, all the information necessary to get up and running. Our agents can find the eClose in a Box materials on Stewart.com in our agency section under Education and Training. And in there, like I said, the eClose in a Box materials walk through everything that's needed. And we hear a lot of people ask questions about, is this expensive? And the short answer is no, that a lot of the technology and hardware that is needed is very affordable. It can be done as simple as a tablet in your office, or all the way up to certain types of computers that have the ability to sign on the screen, the touch screens. There's certain recommendations we've made in terms of the size of the screen, just to make sure that the documents can be read easily. And that's all laid out in the underwriting requirements as well as in our eClose in a Box materials. So the best way for an agent to get up to speed is to go out there and download those materials. Included in there are talking points that they can have also with their lender customers to make sure that the lenders understand what the agents are ready to do and what they're capable of doing and which types of transactions. So we also recommend that they talk with their local Stewart representatives. As I mentioned, they've all been trained on this as well and are ready to help walk our agents through this process.
Well, I want to thank you guys, wrap this up. From my perspective, I think one of the bigger successes, and this is a true indication of Stewart, is there's nobody leading this. Everybody's kind of pushing this through. And I think we have probably the best compliance view, technology, and customer view in the industry on this, and I think it shows. And I do want to appreciate everybody's teams in doing that. So thank you for your time today.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.